Good morning and welcome to Devils in Red 59. My name is Steve and today is Monday, bank holiday. Hope you're all out there enjoying this glorious weather. Nice and hot again, so take advantage of it because in this country you never know how long it's going to actually last for. So please go out and enjoy, but be sensible. Put your suntan lotion on and obviously drink plenty of water. Just want to talk a little bit about the game yesterday. I I was in mixed minds really yesterday because obviously Brighton were obviously playing for Champions League football of some description. So obviously you were going to Brighton, which is an hard place to go at the best of times, and didn't really know what to expect. Certainly from Manchester United's point of view, having cemented third position in the Premiership, cemented Champions League football, players going to the World Cup, and so forth. So you didn't know how Manchester United was really going to approach that game. But, I was very, very surprised, probably like a lot of yourselves, that Manchester United went there still to make a statement and say, we haven't come here just to make up the numbers because it's an end of season game and it doesn't really matter to us. They went there and obviously indicated that they were going for those 3 points to finish the season off the way they've been playing over the last number of games and getting the wins that's been required. So all credit to Manchester United and the individual players. I think probably the first 10 minutes was a little bit, you were thinking, oh, have we got anybody up front that's going to be able to score in this game? Because obviously Sesko was out, Casemiro wasn't playing, Mount was in Casemiro's position, standing in as his replacement. And obviously, as we know from the game before, when Mount and Mainu played in midfield, it wasn't particularly pretty. But I think, to be fair, that Mason Mount and Kobe done really well yesterday. They was here, there, and everywhere, all over the pitch. I think Mainu had an absolutely banging game. He has come on the leaps and bounds under Michael Carrick, and I hope that when he goes to the World Cup, he can continue that performance and come back injury free, have his holiday, and then come back and start doing it for Manchester United next season with Champions League football in the back of his mind. So yeah, I don't think you can really identify one person that didn't particularly play well because I think that the whole team as a whole played very, very well individually and as well as a team. They moved the ball around nice. It was constant attacking football, which we knew going to Brighton that they play open anyway, so there's end-to-end football at the best of times. But I don't think Brighton really turned up on the day. Whether they were knocked backwards by how Manchester United approached the game, thinking that they'd be a bit more laid back and that put them off the stride, I don't really know. But as I say, all credit to Manchester United, credit for Bruno Fernandes for getting his assist and obviously scoring. So obviously he's got the number 21 all-time assists record. So well done to Bruno. But as I've said on previous videos, it's nice to see individual awards being made to people. But, to me, it's more about the team. But I mean, you can't write off what Bruno's done this season. It's well deserved, and congratulations to him. Um, Obviously, now the season is over, and obviously the players that are involved in the World Cup will probably get a couple of days or so off now before they start travelling to the individual countries to team up with their national teammates in preparation for the World Cup. And obviously, the guys that are not involved in the World Cup, they can get themselves off on holiday now, albeit with the weather we're getting in the UK. I don't know whether they're going to find anywhere as nice as what we've got here at the moment. But knowing this country, nice this week, next week it'll probably be plenty of rain or overcast and winds. So, you know, the players that are going away just on holiday, get yourselves away. Well done for a good second half to the season. Well done for getting us Champions League football. And obviously, get yourselves away and get some relaxation and resting. And obviously, then start preparing for coming back for pre season training early part of July, I believe. So, yeah, that's that side of it. But now, opportunity for Manchester United with all the players going away on holidays and World Cup duties. It's now down to the men in suits at Manchester United, the INEOS group, to start bringing in the players and show intent in the market and show intent to the rest of the Premiership that we mean business for next season. Obviously, there's a lot of news still circulating around Edison from Atalanta that all terms are agreed both with player, agent, and club. So it's just waiting to see now if and when Manchester United pull the trigger to do that deal. But for me, I'm keeping a very, very close eye on what's now going to go on with Fernandes from West Ham, with West Ham having been relegated. It's always sad to see clubs going down into the Championship, but at the end of the day, I suppose somebody has to go down, and this season it's Fernandes, but West Ham. But for us, we stand a chance of really benefiting from that if we do go for Fernandes, and reports are suggesting that that is going to be the case. Manchester United have got a big liking for Fernandes at West Ham, and it's believed that Fernandes would like to come to Manchester United. I mean, as a young player, I think he'll come in, he'd fit in well. He likes Bruno Fernandes. He's going to get Champions League football. So, there's no reason there for Fernandes not to want to come to Manchester United. So it's down to INEOS now and the team to start getting these players in. And obviously, a couple of weeks ago, there was information going about that INEOS was going to make a big announcement prior to the end of the season or the beginning of the World Cup with a big target coming into Manchester United. Is that going to be Edison? Personally, I don't know that lot about Edison, but I do know that Manchester United have been looking at him for probably the last 3 to 4 years. So I wouldn't really class Edison as being that marquee signing, albeit, he probably will be a good signing, having listened to different outlets talking about Edison. They're saying that they think he is a quality player, but probably not on the lines of Casemiro, but as maybe a third choice that can come in and help out on the Champions League games, some of the Premier League games, and obviously the domestic cups. He could come in and probably do a fairly good job. By all accounts, he's got a very good engine on him. He's end to end. So I mean that's one good bonus. And you can't just write off the fact that because he's not playing for Brazil that he's no good, because we all know with Brazil, the media in Brazil, the fans in Brazil, they sort of predict to a degree who they want in the team on each World Cup and so forth. So, I don't think it's any disgrace for Edison not to have been selected for this World Cup. I mean, he has had a couple of caps beforehand, but obviously we'll just have to wait and see now whether INEOS pull the trigger over the next few hours or few days to actually make that official. But as I said earlier, my thoughts now are, mainly on Fernandes from West Ham, because I think that Fernandes will be a really, really good asset to Manchester United. I really like his style of football, and I think what that's going to come down to now is obviously price. Now, obviously, West Ham have sort of indicated before, albeit not officially, that they believe he'd probably be somewhere in the region of about £70 million. Yet other outlets sort of suggest that uh, if West Ham got well relegated, which they have now, then obviously it could be as low as 50, 55 million. And, you know, if we can do a deal with West Ham for round about that figure, up to maybe 60 million, I think Fernandes would be a fantastic signing for us. And I think he'll be coming into Manchester United, and you'll see him move up to that next level, because if you've watched him play with West Ham throughout the season, I mean, they haven't been the best of sides. Obviously, that's why they've been relegated. But from an individual point of view, if you've watched Fernandes, I think you'd agree he's got something special there that can be built on. And obviously, you know, as I say, if he comes to Manchester United, he can move up that next level and hopefully, you know, become a starter in a short period of time, either with Mainu, or he could be a starter with whatever our marquee signing's going to be, whether that's Tonali or Anderson. But, you know, personally, I think Anderson and Tonali are going to drift by the board. I've heard today that Forest apparently have been talking round about 115 million for Anderson. But, you know, if you look at previous Ben Jacobs interviews over the last few weeks and few months in reference to Anderson, there seems to be something there, albeit, you know, it hasn't come out, you know, exactly what it is, but Ben Jacobs has sort of indicated uh, previously that he believes Anderson would probably be around the 80 million mark now. If that's the case, then I think Manchester United have got to show their rat and throw it into the ring and say, look, we're interested at 80 million, maybe 85, because that wouldn't be beyond the realms of what we've played or paid for players in years gone by. So 80, 85 million, I think it would be a good shout. I think if it's the 100 million plus, I think that we've got to look elsewhere. I mean, you can't tell me that Elliot Anderson and Tonali in them sort of figures are the only quality players out there. I do believe that there's quality players out there for less money. And, you know, if we don't get Anderson and we don't get Tonali, I believe that INEOS and Manchester United have probably got somebody on the radar that they're not making so well known at the moment. You know, they're just seeing where the market goes with those two players before they start showing the hand on other players. And I think from INEOS's point of view, if that's what they're doing, you know, credit to them, because I don't think you should show all your cards when you're playing blackjack to your opponents, you know. So let's just hope that that is the case, that INEOS are playing the cards close to the chest with a few signings that we're not aware of, that if it comes out, we could say, oh, yeah, you know, never really thought of them, like, you know, but they are quality players and we're in for them. Or, you know, it could even well be that we've done a deal with one of them and, you know, we start jumping up and down over that because we never considered them in the past because they haven't been spoke about. So obviously we have to bear all them sort of things in mind. But obviously, again, other reports that come out seem to suggest that Manchester United and INEOS have got a good few players that they've spoken to and terms agreed already on their books. And again, like I said a few minutes ago, I think they're sort of waiting to see where certain other targets go. And if they can't go in for them because they are too much money or whatever, they've got other players where they've agreed terms with player and agent, and then they can approach obviously the clubs with potential offers for the transfer, and hopefully that would cut down on the time, because I think INEOS this summer will be looking at bringing in players early, and not repeating the problems of the past where we're spending 6 and 7 weeks on one player before we give in and pay the money. I do believe that INEOS are a bit more astute this season. I think they've learnt by past mistakes, and I'm hoping that, come the end of the season, or not the end of the season, but the end of the transfer window, we can look at it and give Ineos a fair bit of praise and say, well, you've built on last season's when we bought in Sesko and Mbuno and Cunha and Le Mans, and you've improved on that and bought in quality into the midfield, as well as maybe one or two of the areas that's being looked at. I know that we're looking at a left back. I don't personally think that we will go for a left winger, because I think we have good options there with Cunha and Dorgu. And if we bring in an outright left winger, you start to have to ask yourself the question: what are we going to do with Dorgu, and what are we going to do with Cunha? So I believe at this moment in time, unless anything changes, I think the long-term prospect for the next season is possibly to utilise Dorgu and Cunha for that left wing role. Morgan Rogers, it's been spoke about before. Yes, I think he'd be a good side. Now, are Ineos looking at Morgan Rogers as a possible replacement to Bruno Fernandes if he goes over the next couple of seasons, so they can bring him in early and get him bedded in, because it has come out again in recent days and weeks that Manchester United do want to bring in players now before players go. And I think that's why they've kept Harry Maguire on, so that they can utilise Harry and his experience to help bed people in, rather than let Harry go, throw a new defender into the mix and say, there you go, you're starting at the beginning of the season. So I think it's very wise that we can start to bring in players and bed them in over a period of months prior to other players going. So I think that'd be very sensible. But as I say, with Morgan Rogers, whether the long-term view, if we bring him in, and there is a connection there between Carrick and Morgan Rogers, and I believe that Morgan Rogers is also liked by Wilcox and so forth. So, if he comes in, is he going to be the replacement for Bruno, or longer term, is it going to be Cunha that's going to be a replacement for Bruno, and then they put Morgan Rogers out on the left? So again, it's going to be an exciting summer. I think some of the transfers will happen very early this time, which is going to be nice, because at least we'll be able to see who's coming in. And if they're not involved in the World Cup, then obviously, you would think that those players will be in and ready to start doing the pre-season and go on the pre-season tour. So, for argument's sake, if you bring Tonali in, he's not at the World Cup, he'll be going off on the pre-season, so it'll give fans and so forth a good chance to have a look at him in a red shirt. So, that's as much news as I can really report on at the moment for today. As I say, I'd just like to congratulate all the lads for the result yesterday. It was well deserved, good football, and I think, it may well be that because the pressure was off, Michael Carrick yesterday might have played a bit more of his own style of football, and it may well be a vision into the future what he wants to play for next season. So, it could be exciting times, because, as I say, the lads played well. It was end-to-end, constant attacking football, and that's the sort of thing that we want to see at Manchester United. So, well done, lads. I'd just like to thank everybody for all the previous videos that's been viewed, and comments coming in, which I have replied to. So please smash a like, share the video, and please subscribe, because we are trying to build the community. And I can see over the last few days that we've had some new subscribers. So thank you very much to them. And turn on your notifications button, because obviously that will let you know when there's a video up and running. And thank you very much. So please smash a like, subscribe, share the video, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Thank you.